today's fast-paced corporate world, success is usually defined by a handful of metrics: profit margins, market share, and how much influence a leader can wield. These are the measurements we celebrate, the numbers we chase, and while there's nothing wrong with being profitable, something important often gets lost in the process. Many people, perhaps even some, watching this, believe that faith, particularly Christian faith, has no real place in business. It's seen as a personal matter, something you leave at home or maybe only bring out on Sunday. The unspoken rule seems to be, if you want to succeed in business, you need to be tough, aggressive, and sometimes even a little ruthless. People say things like, you can't be godly and competitive, as if living with integrity, compassion, and humility or naive in the business world. But let's pause for a moment and ask, is that really true? Has the modern business landscape become so detached from spiritual values that we now view godliness as a disadvantage? What if the strongest leaders are those who lead from principle, not ego? What if the most respected CEOs are the ones who stay true to their value 7 when it costs them something in the short term? You see, godliness isn't about being passive. It's about being grounded, having the courage to do the right thing, even when no one's watching. It's about treating people with dignity, honoring your word, and pursuing excellence just for personal gain, but to serve a higher purpose. Faith and business aren't enemies. In fact, when combined, purpose-driven leadership, the kind that builds not just profitable companies, but meaningful legacies. So here's the question we want to explore. Can a godly man truly be a great CEO? We believe the answer is yes, and not just yes, but absolutely yes. What makes a great CEO? Before we can explore the role of faith in leadership, we have to get honest about what greatness in leadership actually looks like. Is it charisma? A sharp strategic mind? Relentless drive and hustle? Well, sure, those things can help, but they aren't enough on their own. A great CEO does more than just execute a business plan or deliver quarterly results. A great CEO leads with vision seeing, not just what is, but what could be. They bring clarity in chaos. They make hard decisions with confidence. And more than anything, they lead with integrity. You see, success without integrity isn't really success. It's just a performance. And leadership without character, that's just control, dressed up in a suit. Great CEOs build trust. They create cultures where people feel valued, where innovation can thrive, and where doing the right thing is never seen as a weakness. They understand that their decisions affect more than just a bottom line. Employees, customers, families, communities. And when a leader values people over profit, something powerful happens. Long-term value is created not just for shareholders, but for everyone the business touches. And here's the thing, those aren't just smart business practices. They're deeply spiritual values: integrity, humility, wisdom, compassion. These are the qualities that define not only strong leaders, but godly ones. So maybe we've been asking the wrong question all along. Maybe it's not. Can a godly man be a great CEO? Can someone truly be a great CEO without godliness? Because when you lead with character, when your values shape your decisions, when your faith guides your actions, you're not just running a company, you're building a legacy. And that's the kind of leadership the world needs more of. Biblical models of leadership. When we think about leadership, we often turn to business icons, political giants, or visionary entrepreneurs. But some of the most powerful leadership lessons ever recorded are found in an unlikely place. The Bible? The Bible is more than a spiritual source of wisdom about life, purpose, and yes, leadership. It offers us timeless models of men who led with integrity, courage, and vision. Take Joseph, for example. Sold into slavery, betrayed, and imprisoned, yet He rose to become the second most powerful man and climbed the ladder by ambition alone. He led through obedience, humility, and wisdom. In a time of crisis, he saved a nation not for personal gain, but because he listened to God and stewarded resources with excellence. Then there's Daniel, a man in exile, hostile culture, and yet stood firm in his faith, refused to compromise, and led with excellence. He didn't just survive in Babylon, thrived. And he did it without abandoning his convictions. Nehemiah, a man with no formal authority, just to build his broken city. Through prayer, strategy, and people-first leadership, he united others around a vision. He faced opposition, doubt, and threats, but never lost focus. His leadership wasn't flashy. It was faithful, worldly expectation upside down, and yet his influence has endured for over 2,000 years. These men weren't just godly. They were effective, strategic, resilient, inspiring. Their leadership worked not in spite of their faith. But so what does that tell us? It tells us that faith is not a barrier to leadership. It's a foundation, a source of clarity when things get cloudy, a moral compass when power tempts compromise, a reason to serve instead of control, instead of stepping over them. Great leadership isn't about egos, about purpose. And faith is where that purpose begins. What makes a godly CEO truly stand out? In a world driven by performance, power, and profit, it's easy to overlook the qualities that matter, the ones that define not just what a leader does, but who they are. So let's take a deeper look at the traits of a godly CEO who doesn't just build a business, but builds a legacy. First, integrity. A godly CEO does what's right, even when no one's watching. Integrity isn't about public image, it's about private character. It's the foundation of trust, and trust of real leadership. Second, humility. True leaders don't need to prove they're in charge. A humble CEO leads by example, listens before speaking, and serves before being served. They know leadership isn't about egos, about stewardship. Third, wisdom, strategy, or intelligence. A godly CEO seeks spiritual discernment, the ability to see what others miss, to make decisions rooted in truth, not just trends. Wisdom connects the head to the heart. Fourth, servant-heartedness. Leadership isn't about climbing, it's about lifting others. A godly CEO puts people first. Employees, clients, communities. They lead by serving, not by dominating. Fifth, faithfulness. Stay in 7 when it's hard, even when it costs something. A faithful leader doesn't waver in the storm. They show up consistently, lead consistently, and live consistently. Sixth, courage. Godly leadership requires boldness. But why does it matter? Their leadership is rooted in purpose, not just performance. These aren't just soft skills, they're soul skills. They go deeper than leadership books or management seminars. They reflect the heart of a leader shaped by faith. In today's world where authenticity is rare and trust is fragile, these traits don't just make a good CEO. They make a godly one. Real world CEOs who lead with faith. Faith-driven leadership isn't just an idea from ancient scripture. It's alive and well in today's corporate world. All around us, there are CEOs and business leaders who are proving that faith and high performance are not opposites. They're partners. Get a few powerful examples of real-world CEOs who lead with bold faith and undeniable results. David Green, founder and CEO of Hobby Lobby, built one of the largest arts and crafts retail chains in the world worth billions. But what sets him apart isn't just the size of his convictions. From closing all stores on Sundays, to generous employee benefits, to giving away half his wealth to fund ministry work, David Green shows us what it looks like to lead with integrity and biblical values in every corner of the business. Former CEO of Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen took a struggling brand and turned it into a thriving, respected powerhouse in the fast food industry. Her leadership philosophy, servant leadership, deeply rooted in her Christian faith, her team, and creating value through respect and vision. And guess what? Under her leadership, Popeye's tripled its profits. Faith wasn't a footnote, it was the framework. And then there's Dan Cathy, CEO of Chick-fil-A, known for holding strong even under intense public scrutiny. Dan has shown how a company can stick to its principles and still experience explosive growth. But Chick-fil-A is consistently ranked among the top in customer satisfaction and brand loyalty. His leadership reflects humility, service, and unwavering purpose. This guides profit. When people are valued over performance, faith doesn't hold a business back. It sets it apart. And in today's world, that kind of leadership isn't just rare, it's revolutionary. The challenges godly CEOs face, let's be real, leading with faith in today's business world isn't easy. For godly CEOs, the pressure is real, the stakes are high, and the cost of conviction can be steep. You may be pressured to compromise for the sake of growth toll, to bend the rules, massage the numbers, or make decisions that don't sit right in your spirit. You may face criticism for your convictions from media, investors, or even your own team. Some will question your priorities. Others may call you baited, idealistic, or even bad for business. And yes, there are moments when it's tempting, deeply tempting, to cut corners just to survive. When you're in a tough season, when the numbers aren't where they should be, like doing the right thing might cost you everything. But here's the truth. Godly leadership isn't about avoiding pressure. It's about resisting it. The strength of a faith-driven CEO doesn't come from perfection. It comes from dependence. They lean into prayer not as a last resort, but as a first response. They seek God's wisdom, not just quarterly data. They surround themselves with wise council mentors, advisors, and team members who share their values and will speak truth even when it's hard. And they remember that success without integrity isn't really success at all, because profit that costs you your principles isn't worth the price. Godly CEOs choose the long road over shortcuts. Righteousness may take longer to grow, but when it does, it lasts. They're not just building companies, they're building cultures. They're not just leading organizations, they're shaping lives. And their impact doesn't end when the quarter does. So yes, leading with faith, but it also comes with strength, clarity, and purpose the world can't take away. And that kind of leadership, and it doesn't just survive the pressure, that it transforms it. Why the world needs godly leaders today. Let's face it, we're living in a time when leadership is in crisis. Corruption dominates headlines. Scandals feel routine. Trust in corporate and political leaders is at an all-time low, led, overlooked, and used. In the middle of all that noise, one thing has become painfully clear. The world doesn't just need more leaders. The world needs more godly leaders. Leaders guided by principle, not just profit. People, not just portfolios. Leaders who serve, not just command, who inspires, not just instructs, who listen before they speak and do what's right, even when it costs them something. A godly CEO doesn't just lead with substance. They make decisions that reflect character, not just calculation. They create environments where people feel safe, valued, and empowered, not just productive. And here's the incredible part. Godly leadership, it's good for business. When leaders lead with integrity, it builds cultures of trust. When they put people first, they create teams of loyalty. When they stay grounded in purpose, they build companies that last. The data proves it. But more importantly, the world is hungry for it. Yeah. People want to work for leaders they believe in. Customers want to support brands they can trust. Communities thrive when businesses care about more than just the bottom line. So this isn't just a call to action, transformation. Because in a world full of noise, godly leadership cuts through. In a culture full of compromise, it stands tall. And in a time when so much feels uncertain, it gives people hope. The world doesn't need louder leaders. It needs truer ones, principled, purposeful, godly. And if that's you, if that's what you're becoming, then the world needs you now more than ever. Final word, your faith is not a liability. If you're a person of faith in the business world, let me remind you of something important. Your faith is not a liability. It is your greatest leadership advantage. You don't have to check your beliefs at the door to gain respect. And you don't have to compromise your values to succeed. Because true leadership, the kind that lasts, is built on character, not just credentials. So can a godly man be a great CEO? Absolutely. Because how much revenue you generate, it's about the impact you leave, the legacy you build, and the truth you carry through every decision you make. Faith-filled leadership doesn't make you weak, it makes you bold. It gives you clarity when the path is unclear, grounded when the pressure rises, and it reminds you that your purpose is bigger than a profit margin. So lead with your whole heart, lead with your whole faith, and lead like you answer to a higher calling, because you do. Your influence isn't just or KPIs. It's about the culture you create, the people you empower, the example you set, and the light you bring into places that desperately need it. You may not always get applause. You may not always be understood, fit in. You were called to stand firm, stand out, and stand for something eternal. The boardroom doesn't just need more strategy. It needs more light. And maybe, just maybe, that light is you. So go lead, go build, go serve. Because godly leadership is not just possible, it's powerful. And the world is waiting for it.
This has been CEO to Rainmaker with Gene Valdez. To find out more, like us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. If you have questions, email the show. Find that link and others in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and join us again next time.